Hey everyone, welcome back to Quality Matters. I am your hostess, Darci Chambers.
I'm Kyle.
I'm still letting him join me on our podcast.
If you want to boot me, just go ahead anytime.
No.
But good luck setting all this stuff up.
Yeah, I can't. It's okay. We're going back to doing some case studies.
Woohoo, cases.
The first one.
In today's global economy, quality matters. Benjamin Franklin once quipped, "The bitterness of poor quality remains long after the sweetness of low price is forgotten." Quality Matters is here to talk about all things quality. So whether you're looking to improve your business, getting ready for an audit, or dealing with failed inspections, tune in, check us out, then get back to doing work that matters.
This is from July of 2012, but I was reading through it the other day, and it's 8 or 9 pages, and I told Kyle it's going to have to be a 2-parter because I basically highlighted the whole.
Literally, like, here, show the camera. For those of you listening,
they may not be able to see it, though.
Go check out the YouTube
I hope
video.
the highlight shows up on the camera.
I'm sure it does.
But it's really, and every page looks like that.
The paper is white, not yellow. You might not be able to tell.
But it was really cool what they did, and we'll get into it. We'll just jump right into it. So I didn't really know a lot about the Mayo Clinic.
Me neither.
Many years ago, I worked for the company. The boss's wife had some serious medical issues, and I can't remember if they went there or they were looking at going there. And to me, it was just kind of a far-off place that people with real serious medical issues went to.
That's kind of what I understood. That either that or it goes good on a ham sandwich.
Mayo?
Yeah.
Clinic?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So,
should have been a comedian.
First thing that I didn't know is that they were founded in the 1880s.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. That was surprising. They were founded in Rochester, Minnesota, and they've always been kind of innovators. From the start, their executives were physicians in their practice.
Okay.
And so I thought that was cool to have, instead of bringing on like some other CEO from some other, that's my thing. I always bring back education, and the truth of the matter is the people making the laws or maybe in the home office of the district probably were a teacher at some point, but they've been out for so long they don't remember what it's like.
I talk about this with our with our software a lot as well. Is like what makes it special is the fact that it's not some computer geek with 5 different certifications and code, 3 states away building your tool. It's folks that have been there and done it and know what is actually useful. Now, finding the mesh of skills with these doctors that can manage a business and are good doctors. No, that's a difficult combo to find.
Well, it talked about, I don't know if right off they talked about it, but they talked about finding the best doctors.
Yeah.
So, they wanted the best of the best. And the successful managers were given an additional term to keep building their skills and knowledge and grow the organization. It talks about a man named Henry Plummer, who was one of their pioneer physicians. In the early 1900s, he advocated for what he called pooled resources.
Okay.
Which was a way of keeping and retrieving patient charts so that all the physician's analysis could be together on a single patient.
Right.
So basically, you want all the doctors to be able to access all the other doctors' information. Right. So you can treat the whole person. I mean, that's one of the most annoying things. You go to the doctor and you say the same thing over and over and over again.
Yep. Well, and then you wind up with these goofy little silos of knowledge. I mean, totally true here in the medical field, but it's true everywhere else. So you end up with these little silos of knowledge, and my gosh, you have to share what you know with others because you don't know how the pieces interconnect.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying is it's true for even companies that we work with in the oil and gas, and whether you're using us or not in your company, you can have one employee that just has been there for years and years, and knows all these little tricks and tips that can help, but that has to be shared
Yep.
among everyone else.
Yep.
So in 1948, the clinic established a Department of Systems and Procedures to advance system-wide consistency.
And when was this?
In 1948.
Really cool.
Then in 1980s, they underwent a vast expansion.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of cool to show how they're kind of always ahead of the curve. From the very beginning, they wanted to be physician-led.
Yep.
Then you got this doctor in the early 1900s that says, wait, we should all be able to access everybody's information. I mean, way before the start of computers.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So then in 1948, they're saying, okay, we've got to be consistent all across our systems. And then in the 1980s, they had a big expansion. And I think this is probably the Mayo Clinic as we know it today. They went from one location in Minnesota to locations in Florida and Arizona. They also had developed the Mayo Health System that served communities across Wisconsin, Iowa, and Minnesota.
So this is
They also created
expansion.
a medical school and a graduate school of medicine.
Okay.
So now,
And all this occurred in what, a 5-year period of time?
in the 1980s.
Right.
So
This is huge.
yeah, that's a lot of expansion in one decade.
Yeah, and a lot of problems you're going to run into.
Right. So in the 90s, they decided they really got to look at quality, and they started approaching it with rigor and measuring it more thoroughly. They went to the Duran Institute, which I think we've talked about before, and they went ahead and launched a full-fledged quality program. They pursued some of the leaders pursued Six Sigma training, which I don't know a lot about. I know it's a big thing for all y'all. I know it involves belts and colors, like y'all are trying to do karate or something.
Well, for anyone else that doesn't know, and any Six Sigma gurus, you're going to correct me to some degree here on as well, but it's
Please
basically...
do.
Yeah. It is effectively trying to zero in on the defects from a very mathematical type standpoint. There's lots of tools and tricks used for it, but they're really trying to use numbers and very systematic ways of doing things to knock down those errors.
Okay, what he said. So their comment is that this effort brought about some improvements and helped develop future key leaders, but there was a conflict between efficiency, and their definition is containing the cost, and effectiveness. And so this conflict was felt by many, and the perceived cost of quality management clashed with the results, and they dropped the program.
It's not uncommon at all. I mean, I'm not knocking the Six Sigma methodology, but with like most any type methodology, it's not good enough on its own. And you talk about, well, heck, even the same with like you look at martial arts, right? So that's why this MMA is such a big deal, is because what they started realizing is that you can be an expert in this one style, but you're going to get your butt kicked by someone else that's good at a different style.
Right.
So you really need a good mixture to be, to be tough.
Yeah,
and it's the same
like
with the quality
growing
program.
well-rounded children.
Yes, you got to have a good mixture. And I've seen where some of these Six Sigma projects, man, they bank, hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars into trying to resolve real small issues, because it's just one tool. And that's a hell of a tool, but it's just one tool.
Yeah, and I feel like, I don't know because I don't know about Six Sigma, but I feel like there's some sort of prestige associated with Six Sigma.
It is. Because if you're going to be...
So companies are more willing to spend the money because then it's like, oh, we have Six Sigma.
Yes. Yeah. And if you're going to kind of advance the ranks with it, you really have to be a very, very bright, dedicated type person. So if you hear someone talk about their black belt with Lean Six Sigma, like they're really smart. They're really good at what they do. But again, it's one tool.
It's one tool. So this is what I like. I mean, again, I highlighted the whole article. I really respect organizations that look at themselves and say, how can we do better? So I feel like a lot of companies will try quality programs, say, that didn't work, we're done.
Right.
Okay, so that was in the 90s. They went through that ordeal. In 1999, the Institute of Medicine, or IOM, released a report, and they challenged healthcare providers to reduce preventable medical errors by 50% over the following 5 years. So,
I like that.
Mayo leadership said all organizations, whether you're good or bad, need improvement.
Agreed.
So, again, I appreciate that. And I think they realized they were a pretty good organization, but we need improvement. And this Institute of Medicine is saying, we want you to reduce preventable medical errors.
Right.
That's a mouthful. By 50% in 5 years.
Now, there's a lot to that, though, because you're talking about reduce it by 50% over 5 years. Okay, so that's whatever you currently have.
So you have to know what you
currently have.
And across all these different clinics and hospitals and everything that they have just built.
But that's a good goal to undertake. You have to have a goal.
Yes.
And, you know, I would like to know more about the implementation of the earlier Six Sigma program, but I wonder if they had a specific goal other than reduce our costs. Because if your only goal is to reduce your costs, my gosh, there's so many ways you can go about that. You're going to butt heads with people. There's going to be so much arguing and bickering over it, and so many projects that can be tackled. But this is pretty specific.
Yeah, I was reading to see if maybe I skipped their goal when they started Six Sigma, but it doesn't really. It just says as healthcare changed, they started to pursue things. They knew they needed something.
Yeah.
So at that time, the CEO in 1999, when this report came out, the CEO was Dr. Dennis Cortese. He initiated some steps toward quality. So I'm just going to read these.
Okay.
Take a serious look at the gaps between their high aspirations and their good but far from perfect results.
I like it. That's effectively any other business. You've got your KPIs against your objectives and against your policy, and you know, what are the KPI, key performance indicators? What do we want to do? Where are we at? And you just assess it. Where are we missing it?
Yeah, and like I said earlier, you know, they know they're good, but they're not perfect.
Yep.
So how can we meet our high aspirations?
Yep.
Pay greater attention to sentinel events, which were instances of clearly avoidable major patient harm.
Yep, I like it.
So definitely appreciate that.
Yes.
Learn from achievements of other healthcare organizations. So they're going to learn from other people who, you know, like you said with the MMA, like these other organizations may not be better at everything, but if they're doing one thing better, then let's see how they're doing that one thing better and bring it here. Then they appointed a chief quality officer.
Yes.
Who was Dr. Stephen J. Swinson. I don't know if he's still there. He was a physician. And he got, again, keeping true to like, we want a doctor that knows, you know, what our doctors need.
Let me
hold on. He partnered with James Dilling, who was an engineer, to help, you know, improvements.
One of the things that I've disliked about the newer 2015 edition of the ISO standard, which is now the foundation for darn near every new standard that will ever come out for a while, is in the 2008 edition of the ISO 9001 standard, they had the requirement for a quality management representative. The problem, I know why they took it out, because too many organizations took it as to appointing a quality management representative as its own position, as its own job title, as the dedicated singular quality manager. But the idea behind the standard that most companies fail to realize is that this really should be someone that, irrespective of their job duties, is a point man for the organization, more of a figurehead than the top, you know, be it all, know it all manager.
Not somebody you bring in from outside the organization or promote from within. Just somebody that's going to lead this task.
Exactly.
But still do their regular job.
Exactly. So they're still tied to the world, you know?
Yeah. So, so now that they've got this in place, they're really going to look at quality again. They're going to try to reduce their medical errors by 50%. They have a quality officer. So now they've started exploring quality theories.
Okay.
To see what's going to be best. Because they've already went down the Six Sigma road and they said, that didn't work for us.
Right.
So they looked at continuous improvement.
Okay.
Toyota's Total Productive Maintenance System. That's funny for a number of reasons. We previously talked about it on the start with why. And it's going to be in an upcoming episode as well.
You just can't escape what Deming started. Doesn't matter where you go.
I really want to get somebody from Toyota on here. The Baldrige criteria for performance excellence. Do you know that?
I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay, if somebody out there knows something about that. Six Sigma and Lean. So I guess those are two different things within Six Sigma.
Yes, they get kind of thrown together, but yes.
Okay. As well as benchmarking companies that underwent successful transformation.
Yes.
So they looked at these 5 different quality theories and they benchmarked other companies that were already successful, had already done quality and successful. So that's 6 different things. So what they realized is that really a blend of these methodologies would be best.
Wait, you're saying that a cookie cutter system doesn't work for everyone? You can't just lay a quality system on top of a company? I'm shocked. That's
what Mayo found for themselves. But what they realized, not just that it wouldn't work for them, but that's how you get the most successful and lasting outcomes.
Yes.
So it can work,
right,
but it won't be as successful as it could be, and it won't last as long as it could. So they developed a value creation system which blended the aspects, you know, the best pieces of all the different quality theories.
Now, let me clarify though. When you say best, if another company took the exact same initiative, they probably would have found different aspects that are best.
Of course, because it's you can't really compare a healthcare system to, you know, a drilling company.
Yeah,
they have different needs. So they went about defining their strategic challenges.
Okay.
They wanted to lower costs and improve the quality of healthcare.
Okay. Pretty broad and generic.
Right. So they gave an example that I highlighted because I highlighted the whole article.
Yes.
The Institute of Medicine that I mentioned earlier, IOM, reports pointed out that staph infections at one time were considered an inherent risk. Like, just might happen in all those papers you sign off your sign saying, I recognize it's going to happen. But now they're saying it can't be tolerated anymore. We got to take this out.
So Stephen Covey would have said this is very much a paradigm shift of, hey, this is just an inherent risk. We can't do anything about it well, maybe we could.
Yeah, and they have some more examples later on that we're going to talk about. So they wanted to focus on improving the entire system. They didn't want to just improve this clinic or that clinic. Let's get our whole system. And again, I love it. They want to do it system-wide.
Yep.
It kind of reminds me, a while back, maybe one of our first episodes, we talked about, I think it was Orkin. It was one of the pest control companies. And they did something similar. They tried something, it didn't work, and they tried to control because some of their franchises were individually owned, some were owned by the corporate, and so they just kept trying until they got it right, and they wanted it right across the board so that their customers weren't confused. So they wanted to improve the whole system, and the big question is, how can we promote standardized best practices across more than 50 locations?
That's a lot.
And it's healthcare. I just mentioned the pest control, which not to say, well, I am saying it's easier. I mean, it seems like that would be easier to standardize because with healthcare, you're dealing with so many different people and different ailments and there's so many different possible scenarios.
There are, but I mean, I guess it still depends on how you look at it. 'Cause if you want to take a look at it from a profitability standpoint, I mean, doctors get charged more and hospitals get charged more. We all know how expensive this stuff is. The point is they're not bargaining to be the cheapest. Whereas Oregon, it has to bargain to be the cheapest or the next box on the shelf, no matter how awesome it is.
Or the best product. Not necessarily the cheapest, but best for your money. So obviously they needed strategic transformation, but they wanted to keep what was already making them successful. They needed fundamental changes to approaching their customers. their workforce, their operation, and information and knowledge management.
So this is just a small task.
Yeah.
Just real tiny. You know, we can knock it out in 3 months, right?
But I love that they're recognizing all the different areas that it's going to affect.
Wait.
I feel like so many times when we talk to a company about quality, they're like, you know, well, it's just for the guys on the shop floor.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, this is for our customers.
Mm-hmm.
This is for the workforce.
Yeah.
This is for operations.
Yeah.
This is for information and knowledge management. They realize they're going to have a better computer system. Like they know what they're getting into.
Well, I think we have to cut it off.
We do.
We got to cut it off, and now we'll probably pick this up in 3 minutes, but y'all got to wait a week.
Yeah. All right. Tune in next week to hear the rest. It's good. Hey y'all, we want to invite you to watch our videos on YouTube, Texas Quality Assurance, and click that subscribe button. You can also click subscribe wherever you listen to our podcasts, and look for more information at qmcast.com.